I'm Casey Green. From the Campus Computing Project. We're here in Las Vegas at TransformingEDU with 2014, scheduled in conjunction with the annual Consumer Electronics Show. And I'm talking with Robin Goldberg. Robin is the Chief Marketing Officer for the Minerva Project. Yes. Minerva launched 2 years ago as a way to fundamentally do something different in your press release, elite higher education for some highly talented students. For our audience that doesn't know about Minerva, Robin, quick overview, quick explanation.
Sure. So the Minerva Project has been working at reimagining higher education. How do we think about how to best prepare students to become future leaders, innovators, contributors to the global good? And when we went and looked at what education was providing today, we thought there were some holes in a couple of ways. Partly with the education, but also just accessibility and affordability. And so we have gone about thinking from the ground up, how do you build a university experience? And we are launching the Minerva Schools at KGI in the fall of this year to a group of students.
KGI is?
The Keck Graduate Institute, and it is an institute that is incubating us. And it's an opportunity for us to bring curriculum out sooner and to bring the experience out sooner to a set of students.
Who's the target audience?
So
who are the students that, ultimately someday will have a Minerva t-shirt or a Minerva sweatshirt?
It is students who are ready for the academic rigor, so they have a real hunger for learning. They are personally motivated, they are curious, they are typically very strong in one area, really passionate, whether it's science or language or the arts or robotics, but something where they have driven really deep into a subject. They are students that have a bit of a pioneering spirit and they want to do something really different with their education.
I can think there are tens of thousands of students that might fall into that general category of highly talented, highly motivated. They have 75 AP courses and GPAs of 17.5 on a 4-point scale. Who are you looking for?
So we're looking for the students who are beyond test scores, are beyond being well-rounded, right? So there are the students, and I give them credit. They've been president of every club, and they're captain of this team, and they've tried to do a lot of things.
Well, they've done, but it sounds like.
But they've done everything at a cursory level.
They've done the kind of conventional things, if you will, pad the envelope for college admissions.
Right, and what we're looking for is true passion, true motivation. Somebody who has had an entrepreneurial spirit. They've started something, they've created something new. They are showing all the signs of someone who wants to really make a difference in this world, and those are the kinds of students.
And if they choose Minerva, if they have the opportunity to do so, over a more conventional but still elite institution, how will that educational experience be different?
Well, we're looking at it as what are the foundational things we need to do to help these students prepare regardless of what discipline they go into. So whether you're interested in studying biology, philosophy, political science, computer science, there are some core skills that we think are fundamental to be a contributor later. So what are those skills? Really fall into 3 buckets: critical analysis, creative thinking, and effective communication. So our intent is to take that first year and provide an interdisciplinary approach to learning where you really are developing those skills, and very, very deliberately. So that is then the foundation that is scaffolded on regardless of what area of study you decide and choose to go into.
What happens in years 2, 3, and 4?
So the students will pick an area that they want to major in, and they'll go very, very deep. That said, we'll still go back and ensure that those initial skills, those foundational skills, are reinforced time and again in every single course, every single year.
I know that part of the promotion of the publicity about Minerva is, in fact, you are not one campus, but you are many.
Yeah.
You start in one place, I believe it's San Francisco, and then what happens?
That's exactly right. So part of the experience is to get an amazing curriculum, but to really pair that with a global understanding. We want to prepare students for the global world they live in. And we believe the way to do that is to go and immerse yourself in all different cultures. So the Minerva program is your first year in San Francisco, so you will spend time getting to know a cohort of students. You'll do your first year curriculum there, and then every semester after that move to another urban city. So imagine your sophomore year maybe in Mumbai, and then in Hong Kong. You might spend your junior year in Rio and Berlin. You might spend your senior year in Cape Town and in London. And the idea is to have a cohort of students that you can bond with, that you can learn with, that you can study with, you can have fun with. That's an important part of the college experience, but pair that with a rigorous curriculum to also develop all the skills.
What will it cost?
Well, we've worked very hard to ensure that we can make this as accessible as possible. So tuition is $10,000 a year.
About the same as a in-residence state university.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at tuition at the elite private, I'm getting nods as everybody's.
Yeah, we want that.
If you look at the tuition at a lot of the private institutions, it's about $40,000 a year. And our tuition is 25% of that. Now, we haven't figured out how to, sleep and eat cheaper than room and board, so our room and board is comparable. But the overall cost is half of what the private elites are and about what a state institution
Yeah.
would be.
Let's go to the flip side of the experience, faculty.
Yeah.
Some of the early announcements are folks who have been at the top of their game, if you will, in their professions and in key academic areas. What's the incentive for me to walk away from my empire at elite public or private university to say, you know what, I'll cast my fate with Minerva for the next part of my career?
It's a great question. We are so fortunate to have the deans that have come on board to join to really help develop this. And what is driving them is the ability to do something new, something different. They are so passionate about teaching, and it's something that I think they found in many of the organizations they've been in, the other institutions, that teaching took second priority to research. And there is such a focus on how do we teach these students, how do we give them an amazing experience, how do we make every class a life-changing experience. That is an unbelievable challenge for someone who's interested in education and teaching, and the deans that have come on board, they're taking that very, very seriously.
But this sounds like folks at the peak who have walked away as opposed to at the beginning of an academic career who say, I can cast my fate with Minerva, but that may also set up some other restrictions on where they can go afterwards, potentially. No research.
Well, it's really interesting. We will have research as well. So we have the Minerva Institute, which is a nonprofit organization, an institute that has the money for both research and scholarships. And what we want to do is encourage our faculty to do research, but not at the cost of not teaching. And so it's a really, really important balance. So it's not one or the other, it's how do you find the right balance between the two. And I will say that every one of the deans that have come on board are incredible researchers. They are very, very well published. They are studied. They are the experts in the science of learning, and they're bringing all of that to the classroom.
Right. So you're doing what might be characterized as soft launch, smaller cohorts the first year or two, ramping up to a much larger group a few years down. 5, 8, 10 years from now, beyond the experience of the students who get those Minerva sweatshirts and the faculty who are affiliated with Minerva, what kind of aspirations does Minerva have in terms of being a catalyst for change or a beacon of innovation for the rest of higher ed?
We hope we cause other institutions to look at their curriculum, to think about how are we preparing students, to think about what are they charging for. So one of the things we spend a lot of time thinking about is what are the classes that people will want to spend tuition dollars on. Shouldn't be introductory classes that they can get potentially online on a MOOC, or they can find information on the internet. What we want to do is make every class truly interactive, and hopefully that will then encourage other institutions to say, you know what, we can't just do a bunch of cursory things. We need to really change the curriculum to be intentional. And the other thing is, let me just take a moment and talk about learning outcomes, because one of the things that we see is a lot of things aren't measured. And we want every outcome to be measured so that we are really, really clear with the students getting out of the program what we intend. So that's a really important component of it as well.
So Minerva, let's talk about the outcomes. So Minerva, particularly in a world now where students are, as they are in all the time, but particularly in a down economic cycle, what do I do after I finish?
Right.
If I'm a Minerva student and I go knocking on your door, and you've got a student from equally talented, equally bright, equally self-motivated, comes knocking in with a more conventional transcript, what will help differentiate me from my nominal competitor for the job at your organization, whether you're a large corporation or an entrepreneurial startup?
So a few things. Number one is, when you graduate from Minerva, you have a few things. You really have a foundation for thinking about problems you've never seen before. So how do you critically assess something? How do you question? How do you come up with creative solutions that really are innovative and different? So they're going to come out with very, very core skills, but we're also going to give them some practical skills. So there's a real focus on getting internships throughout your entire Minerva experience. Really important that you put that into practice, that you're exposed to commercial opportunities, to philanthropic opportunities, to governmental opportunities. There's so many ways to give back, and we want our students to understand all those ways. And then they put that into practice in their junior and senior years in a capstone project. So another important thing is that it's not just about a project that's then evaluated by academics, it's evaluated by experts in the field. And that will be another
So it's kind of a portfolio.
experience. That's exactly right.
All
It's
right.
an experience that they can take. So by the time they're ready to go to an employer, they have an amazing background and foundational curriculum. They've got experiences, again, from all over the world, from their travels. They've got some practical experience to bring to bear, and we think they'll be great contributors.
All right, so this video is going to go online. It's going to be posted on the web. It will never come down ever. Will you come back in 5 years and we're going to sort of do a point-by-point reconstruction?
I'd love to do it.
Great, thanks.
Thank
Thanks, Robin.
you.